War is a continuation of politics by another means. Karl von Clausewitz. Politics is a continuation of economics by another means. Michael Rupert. I want y'all to know before I start this video, I'm happy with my life and I don't want to kill myself. All right? These are dangerous times and dangerous days we live in when you have to say something like that. But that's the truth of the matter. So, over the past, 10, 15, 20 years, we've been standing here having these wars in the Middle East. And everybody's been like, it's over the oil, da-da-da-da. But nobody really looks at natural gas. And I think it's important we look at natural gas, right? Because that's what the conflict in places like Syria and Afghanistan were really about, right? It was about being able to run a pipeline through these areas to be able to feed Europe. And that's what this huge Russia narrative's about as well. Because Russia wants to be the sole provider of natural gas to Europe. And the United States wants to be the sole provider of natural gas to Europe. That's what all this is. That's what all this Russian hysteria is about. It's what, all these hearings are about. It's what the impeachment is about, right? This is about corporate cronyism. The people who fund our politicians. And this is one such story of all this, right, that I discovered. There's a guy named Igor Pasternak, all right, who is a Ukrainian-born guy, all right, businessman. They call him an arms dealer. I'm calling him, I don't know, right? I don't know what he is. The guy builds blimps, all right, in California. But somehow, as of recently, he's now, out of nowhere, making M16s in Ukraine. No clue how that happened. But the real big issue is that he helped fund Adam Schiff's political campaign. Let's get to it. So, let's start this where it starts off at, right? Adam Schiff was thrown a political campaign fundraiser by a guy named Igor Pasternak. All right. Now, this campaign was thrown in Washington, D.C. All right. This was, this was all thrown in D.C. and stuff, right? And here's the issue with this, right? Igor Pasternak is head of a company called Aeros Corp. All right. And Aeros Corp or Aeros Craft, all right, as it, depending on how it's, spoken to you, makes blimps. Okay, they make dirigibles, right? As you can see, right? They stand here and they make, blimps that are actually funded by the Department of Defense. Okay, for instance, right? They ended up having, right here they got. In 2005, Aeros was granted the largest contract under DARPA's Project Walrus Hulu. The Walrus project was not renewed until 2010. However, the Pentagon continued to fund Aeros through the Rapid Reaction Technology Office, contracting with them in 2010 to build a prototype that could demonstrate key technology. The Pentagon has provided $50 million in funding for the development of the Pelican prototype, right? And they've had, a bunch of contracts throughout the years, right? They're supposed to be blimps that can carry massive amounts of weight, right? Now, you say, that was 2004, he didn't do the thing in 2014, right? Whatever the case might be. And that's fine, right? You know what I mean? That's kind of the situation. But here's the thing, all right? The crazy thing is that as of recently, this guy, Igor Pasternak, who comes from Ukraine, has been building weapons. In particular, he has been building the WAC-47, all right? Which is an M4 carbide, It's an M4 carbide, what do you want to call it here? It's an M4 carbide hybrid, I guess, right? It's not what you would think, right? It is a M16 built to fire AK-47 rounds to go into Ukraine. Now, this is being built by a company that makes blimps, which makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. Right? Assault rifle M16, which we produce in Ukraine at enterprises of the SCU in cooperation with American company Aeroscraft, is a modern weapon that unites a long production experience and combat use. New assault rifles become new firearms in accordance with the standards adopted in NATO armies for our country and the Ukrainian army. The M16 production in Ukraine is a real step towards Euro-Atlantic structures. Right now, let's pause this a second. Now, you remember I showed you Igor Pasternak stood here and, stood here and, helped get Adam Schiff elected, right? And then Adam Schiff has been standing here screaming about the Russia narrative. The reason why he's screaming about the Russia narrative is because the people who give him, right, who give him arms are the same individual, or the people who give him money, they're the same people who are profiting off of the stand here political strife with Russia, right? The new Ukrainian M4 WAC-47 rifle, a strong political message to Russia, all right? Up till now, the Ukrainians have decided the brand new M4 WAC-47 rifle, a special descendant of the legendary American-made M16 rifle, is good enough to eventually retire their decades-old workhorse Kalashnikovs, or AK-47s, as you may know. A year after the initial announcement, the first batch of 10 new rifles is now undergoing firing trials in Ukraine Special Operations Forces, National Guard, and Border Services. Right? Here's the thing, though. They already adopted the gun in 2017. This article says they're going to adopt it by 2020. But the truth of the matter is they've been using it since 2017. So, why are they out here screaming about them? God dang, your mother, look at them titties over there. Right? Now, the reason why they're switching over is because the 7.62 by 32 round that's fired by the AK-47 is widely available over there. And currently, NATO forces uses the 5.56, right? And the 5.56 is a smaller chamber, but it's an American chamber. It's kind of the deal, right? So this kind of makes everything more of a standard variation, so that it could pick up any cartridge on the ground, or anybody's, magazine off the ground and get killed, and kind of put it into your gun. You're ready to rock and roll, right? I wanted to show you all that, let you know what the situation is with this, right? And then, on top of that, with the rest of the stuff that goes on, right? And not only did they stand here and have, these weapons being built, on top of that, they had a U.S. company to supply Ukraine with an integrated surveillance system, right? So, the administration of the State Border Guard Service in Ukraine, the American Worldwide Aeroscorp, remember Aeroscorp? Yep. Signed an agreement that would see the delivery of integrated surveillance systems to Ukraine border crossings. Now, see, they make blimps, right? Which, you can put cameras on and look around. You would think that would be the situation, but that's not what happened. What they did do was they stood here and they put up a bunch of towers, all right? Now, when they put these towers up, okay, they ended up having an issue where they ended up having the towers basically didn't fucking work. Now, here's the thing. Aeroscorp, let's be perfectly real here about things, is a bullshit CIA operation. All right, these are gun runners for the CIA. Anybody ever seen Lord of War? That's what these guys actually do. All right, these are people who deliver weapons for the United States government, and they hold contracts with the U.S. government. And basically, they just stand here and they ship weapons and weapon systems and surveillance systems, whatever the case might be, in the fucking areas that the United States legally can't go into. That's what this is. These are proxy fighters. All right, I would call them, fake whatchamacallits. I would call them like Blackwater type of deals, but that's not the truth, right? They're not really actually mercenaries. They're more, think, gun runners. It's kind of the situation. Artillery exchanges like these have become a tragic routine in Donbass, though. The killing has slowed since the heaviest fighting, which occurred in 2015. Over 10,000 have fallen in the conflict, and at least 1.4 has been turned into refugees, right? I don't even know where Donbass is, to be perfectly real with you, right? 50 million worth of lethal weapons to the all right. Last month, the U.S. State Department approved a transfer of 50 million worth of lethal weapons to Ukraine military, along with a shipment of M107A1 Barrett sniper rifles. The United States will be delivering 35 Javelin anti-tank launching systems and 210 missiles. Though the Javelins has scarcely been tested against the latest model of Russian tanks, advocates in the arms transfer have insisted that the missiles will save lives by deterring the Russians. After meeting last June with House Majority Leader Paul Ryan and Senator John McCain, Andriy Parubi, who is the Speaker of Ukrainian Parliament, presented the Javelins as a game changer. If we burned several hundred Russian tanks, it would have been an important step towards restoring peace in our country's east. But others who have witnessed the grueling war of attrition in the front lines dread the prospect of new arms on the battlefield. Brian Milikovsky, Fulbright scholar who is working with the aid organization, the Ukrainian side of Donbass, told me the Javelins will provoke Russia to escalate its military involvement and dramatically deepen its suffering on both sides. In the time I've been to Donbass, there have been escalation events when the dust settled seemed attributed to the separatists trying to improve their positions. There has also been escalated relating to the Ukrainians trying to improve theirs. Walensky said, no one can ever be certain who starts shooting, but when you triangulate a lot of sources and get a sense for it, what I worry about is the U.S. arms is how they can inspire more such attempts, which often blow up into artillery duels that damage frontline communities on both sides. Giving just enough arms and make that possible, but not enough to actually change the balance in the war doesn't seem responsible to me. War is a business, you know what I mean? Get nothing misunderstood, you know what I mean? Like real shit. And this is more this, war is a continuation of economics by another means. Like real talk. That's really all this is. Back in 2015, when cops inserted in Barack Obama's National Security Council, that then president made a rare departure from conventional Beltway foreign policy wisdom and rejected pressure to ship lethal arms to Ukraine. The plan to up-arm Ukraine had been developed in the Brookings Institute and the NATO-funded Atlantic Council and was advanced by Congress in the former position by Senator McCain that would have required the U.S. to budget 20% of all aid to Ukraine for offensive weapons. You know what I don't understand? Like, all this is about fucking natural gas. Right? For fucking Europe. Why aren't they paying for it? Legit. Why isn't Europe paying for this? This is about shit for them. Like, I understand it's our companies who are going to be getting the profits off of this. Like, I get that mentality. I do. But I really do think we should tax them for it. Like, I remotely get it. You know what I'm saying? I really do. And I mean, back in 2013, Schiff was treated to a $2,500 per head campaign fundraiser by Ukrainian-born, California-based arms merchant named Igor Pasternak. The war in Donbass has been a boon for Pasternak, earning him a lucrative contract to supply the Ukrainian State Border Guard with integrated surveillance system and a subsequent deal to help replace the Ukrainian military's AK-47s with a version of the M16. Given Schiff's history, he was a little surprised when he thrust himself headlong into the paranoid theater of Russiagate. So this is really why Russiagate's going on. All right, real shit. You know, I mean, this is really just the Democrats standing here trying to fucking promote this goddamn war. Right? Because all the wars across the globe that the U.S. is involved in right now have something to do with trying to stand here and go back and forth with Russia. Right? That's really what this is. Right? Because like this is about natural gas and oil production for Europe. All right, and who's going to control who funds all of Europe with their natural gas and oil production? You know what I mean? Russia's standing here going, no, we're going to do it. And the U.S. is standing here going, no, we're going to do it. Right? And so we're going to war over who's going to provide them with natural gas. That's really what this is about. Nothing more, nothing less. That's really this whole thing. Legitimately, right? And like the whole thing is patently ridiculous. Like the entire thing, right? It's all part of this green nonsense too, right? Which is something else that nobody really talks about. Like the green stuff, like the whole idea of going green, you know, I mean, the climate change and all this nonsense, right? Like, you never hear nobody talking about natural gas. They only talk about petroleum, right? And they only talk about, coal. But they never talk about natural gas, because Europe is completely ran by natural gas for the most part, right? Well, and coal. They call it Lutzite, right? But they've been able to hide that from the people so that they don't understand what's going on, right? Because it's like coal combined with calcium or whatever the case might be. And it's all nonsense, legit. So here's another one. Then on 22nd of July 2019, Ukrainian media reported that the prosecutor for military investigation, Ukraine Prosecutor General's Office, was probing the purchase by Ukraine of the Arrows border surveillance system. Adam Schiff, sometimes fundraiser, found one of his 2 big projects in Ukraine under investigation for corruption. Specifically, it appears for an allegation that the system itself was not necessary for the procurement process, and that for an allegation that it had functionality problems, and for the allegation that transaction involved embezzlement. Yeah, no shit. Right? Like, yo, these people are dirty, right? Legitimately dirty. Real talk. You know what I'm saying? And when they talk about you don't know how to pronounce it, right? They're talking about a weapons manufacturer in Ukraine. It's like I have no idea. But that's really all that this is about. This is all about pipelines. This is all about military hardware, right? And the military hardware and the fighting against Russia right now and the proxy wars are just ways for, like, the senators and the, military people to stand here and line their pockets. But really, this boils down to pipelines. Like, real shit. All right. Well, I wanted to bring y'all this story, man. The situation. Look, I don't do anything without evidence. You know what I'm saying? I'll make sure all the relevant links are in the description for this. You guys can all do your own research for yourself and see what you think. I spent probably like 2.5, 3 hours trying to research this and figure out exactly what was going on, because I don't like lying to y'all. And again, I say, if I disappear and I get black bagged, remember, you all very much. Do me a favor, hit that sub button, hit the notification bell. Come out for the live streams. You know what I'm saying? Come hang out and spend some time and enjoy yourselves. All right? This is Tom Peace. Peace be like one. Later.